while we're on the subject of stupid, can we just go straight to, like, and since I've been in Kentucky for the last few days, can we just jump over to this stupid? This is Rand Paul. I don't know why he gets a picture from 10 years ago. I guess the same reason Trump does. But this is Rand Paul exposes Biden administration for wasting $1 trillion. I am fascinated. I can't, hold on one second. I don't know why this has two screens. Why is this here? I don't know. What is this? Why is this here? I can't. Well, I guess here, I'll just kill this one and move this one up here. Same thing. So this is, I'm going to get aggravated. I just know it. And it's the holidays and I shouldn't, but hit the like and subscribe. It's Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. I will be doing normal shows again very soon, but we're, holiday traveling. So work with me on this. And it'll be a relatively short show tonight, but I just missed you guys, frankly. Here we go. This is Rand Paul.
Spending spree exposed in Senator Rand Paul's 10th annual Festivus report, showing the more than $1 trillion $1 pickleball complex in Las Vegas, a drag cabaret show on ice, and of course border security for ... Paraguay. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul joins us now. Senator, this is an annual list you do. You've got a lot of problems with government people, to quote Seinfeld.
Okay, hold on. How much? $20 million for this, $12 million for that, $10.3 million for cat experiments, climate action in Brazil, $3 million, 2.1 million. By the way, we rely on food from Brazil. The pickleball thing was probably for elderly people, for health, to test how, like, if they exercise, then you can, anybody who exercises, your healthcare needs and costs will be lower. Shit like that. Iraqi Sesame Street USAID spends $20 million on Ahlan Simpson, a Sesame Street show in Iraq. And how many other countries kick into it as well? Drag show on ice. The National Endowment for the Arts awarded $10,000 to support a climate change focused drag show on ice. Okay. I think the whole having it on ice, and I don't know if the drag part would heat it up and therefore it melts the ice. I don't know. It seems like I could see where the art would work there. And then Paraguay border security. We also have embassies in Paraguay and shit like that. So there's a lot of overlap. A lot of countries do this. It's just dumb. But this is nowhere near. This is 0.00003% of the budget over 10 years.
Paul joins us now. Senator, this is an annual list you do. You've got a lot of problems with government people, to quote Seinfeld further. How tough is it to target and find the entries on this list?
I got a lot of problems with big spenders in both parties. And here's the thing, everywhere you look, you find more of this stuff. $1 trillion, that means we found a lot of waste. But it's everywhere. It's in all the big departments, in the Department of State. It's in NIH. It's in the National Science Foundation. And people wonder, why does it exist every year? We have this Department of Doge. Are they going to be able to get rid of it? Well, the only way to get rid of it is to spend less money. So if you give the National Science Foundation $4 billion one year, and then you increase it to $8 billion, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that you're going to get more waste, not less.
No, correlation, not causation. And the idea that you're increasing the National Science Foundation's funding, especially as we get more advanced in our technology, and prices go up, and the importance of even being able to work with higher quality computers and technologies and the like, of course it's going to be more expensive. And that doesn't mean that it's automatically going to be more waste because of it. And again, just any science that is done where it isn't successful doesn't automatically make it waste either. I mean, remember, these are the same fuckwads that are always quoting Edison, going, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. I just figured out 999 ways to make that you don't make a light bulb." Remember that nonsense? They always bring that shit up. But any government money that is spent that doesn't solve the problem is automatically waste and fraud or just wasteful in general. So lame.
This has been going on since the 70s, but it has...
Since the 70s. That's adorable. When we had like the Mustache Foundation, and the only thing that good came out of it was Smokey and the Bandit. Two of the best cinematic mustaches in history.
Exploded, but you have to be willing to cut spending for the overall department. NIH...
Why? Why? Why wouldn't you cut something else? Jesus Christ, you think in 2024, 2025, 2026, for crying out loud, we need less science? Are you out of your mind? I'm sure there's shit in there for, like, you know, new ways for the Amish to make buttermilk. I'm sure there's some money that goes to Pennsylvania for that, right? I doubt there's gonna be a huge update. But science, I gotta be. Although that probably would fall under science now that I think of it.
Have more waste if you give them more money. They spent $3 million studying what kids do when they look at ads for food on Facebook.
They spent $3 million figuring out what kids do when they look at ads for food on Facebook. Because if kids eat junk, they develop health problems that cost Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid more money over time. And if they're going to, if the Congress wants to write a bill, or RFK Jr. wants to put in a new regulation, which is all he's going to fucking do, if they want to do that, they've got to do a study on it. Otherwise, when they put this new regulation in, or they put this limitation on, on ads on Facebook, and they try to like limit it or label it or whatever, they can, if somebody sues and takes them to court, they can go, "No, we did a study on it. We funded a study specifically to look into this." Why is this weird? Like, if you're going to write a law about anything, you're going to have to do you're either going to have an abundance of data that comes from naturally occurring shit, or you're going to have to study hurricanes and their trajectory to decide whether or not you're going to have to change how the U.S. supports insurance or builds breakwaters, right? You're going to have to do a study. And if that $3 million study saves you $500 million in Medicare and Medicaid funding later on, because you realize kids who make better choices or don't see ads on Facebook, that promote sugary food or whatever, don't tend to eat as much of it, then you'll save that money. Do these assholes know how, like, an investment in the future works? Of course not.
A whole bunch of kids look at ads for food on Facebook, and that was $3 million worth. I mean,
yeah, that's all they did. Yeah, that's how a scientific study works. Thanks, Rand. They just have a bunch of kids watch ads on Facebook, and then that was the whole thing. The sad part is that, like, Fox News and whoever the fuck is there has probably, like, the hosts the engineers that are working on the show, the producer themselves, and maybe even the director at one point, has been looking at social media or something with their kid when they were concerned about it, and like, what the fuck is that? Seeing ads for things that they know are bad for their kid, or know are trying to bait their kids into stuff. And we've had this conversation about toys and food on broadcast television, and we were right. And they did all kinds of stuff about, like, how and what you can sell to kids on broadcast television and when, because kids are easy to manipulate. Why wouldn't they look on social media if kids are spending more times on their phones? And why would this be a surprise? Other than, dial this all back and understand that what's really going on here. What is this really about? Rand Paul, as a acolyte of Ayn Rand, named after her by his dipshit father, believes that there are too many people surviving. We've got too many weak people running around, and we should have let them die of natural causes. Darwin Awards years ago, and we got to stop saving people from themselves. Life is going to get more complicated. The ads are going to get more convincing. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And the only people that deserve to live are the people who can ignore it, or come from a household where they've been taught to ignore everything. And so, my kids don't believe those ads because my kids don't believe gravity works, and that, God rest their soul.
Thousands of dollars to drill holes into cats' head, spin them around rapidly, and study motion sickness. Sounds more like animal cruelty than it actually sounds like an experiment, but the list goes on.
Again, gross, but I don't give a fuck what it sounds like to you. Did it work or didn't it?
And on.
And that's not to mention, you have stolen COVID relief funds, $8 million. One guy from Florida did it to buy an island. You mentioned the cat. The list does go on and on, but you also alluded to...
A Florida man stole $8 million in COVID relief funds to buy an island and more. And I presume because we know about it, he was arrested because that's illegal. Okay, wait. Let me okay, hold on. This I need to know. This we got to look this up. Hold on. Florida man bought an island. Bought island, $8 million. Hold on. That'll bring it up. Florida man is serving 5.5 years in federal prison for stealing nearly $8 million in federal COVID relief funds. He used the same stolen funds to buy Sweetwater Island, a private island off of Key West. November 10th of 2023, Georgia man spent $58,000 in COVID relief funds to buy a 1999 Charizard Pokemon card in a similar case. All right, but let's see. Mangroves, commons, blah, blah, blah. Pelican dive bombs. You go fly over Wichita Bay. Maybe an ideal getaway. Florida businessman Patrick Parker Walsh said he's serving 5 years in federal prison for stealing near $8 million in federal COVID-19 funds that he used in part to buy Sweetwater Island, which here it is. Let me show you the island. I wouldn't call it Sweetwater Island. I'd call it like Burning Brush. But it ranks among the most unusual purchases by pandemic fraudsters. He's one of thousands of thieves who perpetrated loss of 10%. When the AP reviewed hundreds of pandemic fraud cases, presents a picture of thieves and scam artists who spent lavishly on houses, luxury watches. Stolen aid also paid for long nights at strip clubs. Well, their crimes were relatively simple. The government's goal was to get cash into the hands of struggling people and businesses with minimal hassle, particularly during the early stages. I don't remember who was president during the early stages. Do you guys remember? I can't remember. Safeguards to weed out the swindlers were dropped. Thieves came from all walks of life. Let's see. Investigators wouldn't catch every crook. Uncomfortable truth. Stay as long as it takes. New York doctor deeply in debt joined the rogues gallery of COVID-19 fraudsters by falsifying at least 11 separate applications for pandemic aid, netted him $3.8 million. Used about $3 million to pay off an early civil judgment against him, breaching real estate lease. Brazen move spent $80,000 on going to settle a federal lawsuit alleging he violated the Controlled Substances Act by dispensing more than 20,000 doses of weight loss drug without keeping accurate. Okay, hold on. Let's grab the guy though, the dude, where the Florida businessman. Where is it? Patrick Parker Walsh. Okay, copy. I just need to know the details of his. Give me 1 second. I need to know when. Is the man a freshwater spring comes to bar? His crimes were egregious. Oh yeah, the blimp guy. This was the guy. Oh, hold on. Sorry. Give me 1 second. Relative of a former state that going Tuesday in district court, sentenced in pandemic fraud. So he got, let's see, Patrick Parker Walsh, get out of here. Patrick Parker was sentenced to 5.5 years in prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. He must also pay back the $7.8 million to the U.S. Small Business Administration. Federal judge sentenced Patrick to 5 years in prison. Charged in August as part of a deal with prosecutors. He's got to pay this back. Choke back tears at times while addressing the court. I tell my children that it's the moments that no one is watching that you can measure a man's character. Unfortunately for me, when I was in that situation, I failed. Washington Nicole Ward said the federal government was the way to save his business. Business skills were not the greatest. He took out high-interest loans, made dumb choices, painted a different picture. Assistant attorney took $2 million to cover payroll due to any pandemic. Then they stole the money and got into fraud. That theft is theft. It doesn't say when he took the money, but it seems to be, in his signed plea agreement, Walsh admitted to defrauding the federal government in 2020 by submitting false loan applications for several companies he owned to the Paycheck Protection Program and Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, 2 federal loan initiatives intended to help small business owners keep their companies afloat during the economic crisis caused by the pandemic in 2020. Now, there we go. So during the Trump administration, let's be abundantly clear. That's what I was trying to get to. That the dude that Rand Paul is referring to, this guy right here, and they make a big graphic out of it, and it becomes a big frickin' thing, and it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Stolen COVID-19 relief funds. A Florida man stole $8 million in COVID relief to buy an island and more. Yes, and he did it in 2020 when Donald Trump was president last time. So just to clarify that. I needed to look that up, and I feel better for having done it.
Senator, do you think your tradition ends this year? In other words, is this the year that DOJ eliminates the need for you to go through and make this list, because they've done it over the
cat experiment? DOD spent the Department of Defense spent $10 million on Orwellian cat experiments.
Course of the intervening 365 days.
Ultimately, it takes Congress. Congress has to get rid of the spending. DOJ can point out the spending problems and the waste the same way I've been pointing it out. But the reason it's not eliminated is they don't have the votes to get rid of the spending. So I am very hopeful that DOJ will draw attention to this the same way I've been drawing attention to it. But I'll give you an example. About a year ago, there was a chip spill, a bill to subsidize microchips, semiconductors in the United States. Well, in that bill, they doubled the size of the National Science Foundation. Now, the National Science Foundation...
Yeah, I don't know why that would be. We're trying to reclaim microchip production in the United States, and they double the science foundations from like $4 million to $8 million? Really? Seriously, dude. Seriously. We have a $26 trillion economy, and we have a $6 trillion federal budget. I got to tell you, the $8 million for, well, let's see how much. We'll see if he's talking about more.
The one that's famous.
So the $8 billion for the National Science Foundation is a pittance.
For doing a study on whether tequila or gin makes people more aggressive. So they fed fish, half of them tequila, and the other half of the fish gin, and they decided which made the fish more aggressive. That's the National Science Foundation.
Yeah. And if they can do that without going to a bar and splurging, so fucking what?
Most of the terrible, wasteful projects, the crazy stuff and experiments that are going on is National Science Foundation.
No, it isn't. Shut the fuck up. And even if it is, we're getting it on the cheap.
In the CHIPS bill, all the Democrats and half the Republicans voted to double the size of the National Science Foundation. So why is there more waste? Because the idiots in Congress...
No. Sorry. False premise. You have not established it as waste. You can argue that some of the experiments are less efficient than they might be. Maybe even you disagree with them on an animal cruelty level. Maybe there's some other reason. But the idea that it's just generalized waste because you think it's stupid, because you're a simpleton, is not an excuse to cut the funding. It just ain't.
Keep giving them more money.
Well, it will be interesting to see again what happens.
Yeah, totally. It's so interesting. Isn't it interesting? This will be interesting.
when Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. Very different from what we've experienced the last 96 hours in Congress. Will this waste go away? Will you be needed on Christmas Eve next year? We will see. Senator Rand Paul, enjoy the day and the week with your family, and we thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
God. Again, like so much like wishful thinking. But the other takeaway from that I would like to remind everybody is that when he says that it takes an act of Congress to cut the budget and drive all this down, what he's saying is that it isn't Doge that's going to do this, or even the president. If you're going to do any real, if there's ever going to be any curtailing of this kind of spending, you're going to have a real budget fight and actually go through committee and actually work this shit out. And they just aren't gonna. It's goofy.